am recording.
All right.
Because this could be epic. It could be terrible.
And the stuff that you say when you're not trying to plan out what you're saying is sometimes the best.
So,
old reporter's trick, always roll tape. Keep it rolling.
Yeah. When we've done shows, other shows that I've done, and we end the show, but we're still talking. And this could be live or it could be on Zoom these days. And keep on rolling because the show is ended, but we still keep talking and the best stuff. It's the best.
Oh, yeah.
As we always say, the best part of the show. We can tell that you're an old radio guy because in the picture I'm getting from you, between your face and the camera is your big honking microphone.
You like that?
Yeah. Notice where my microphone is.
Yeah.
And notice where your microphone is.
Pretty close to the same.
Except you can see all of my face. Not that anybody wants to.
Would you like me to move it?
Here you go.
Is the audio still good? This is a pretty close work mic.
Well, this is too. This is a Heil PR40.
Ooh, good. You got a Bob Heil.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the days when Bob liked me. Although he did not give me a microphone. When I was doing his show, I had to buy my own freaking microphone.
From him?
Yeah. Well, yeah, from Heil,
Oh, that's why he's got a lot of money. These people don't give stuff away,
Yeah, and then I bought two more. Idiot that I was. I bought two more.
His daughter was, I don't know, I loosely say one of my students, but she was a student while I was a professional staff member at WSIU, at SIU. Julie. So. And then she married into the Staley family. So she's a Staley now. Staley Grain in Decatur. So,
yes,
she does a lot of cool stuff.
Welcome to the Central Illinois podcast.
I know a lot of people.
So here's the deal. Just in case anybody ever sees this, we have been bantering about, well, first of all, the deal is you're my brother, Jay.
Correct.
And I'm Jay's brother, Gary.
Correct.
Can you, you're not wearing glasses.
Oh, no, I didn't bring them up.
And you tied your hair up and back. But look at all that hair.
Well, if you don't have it on top, you got to have it somewhere.
No, I got
that.
Yep.
But no, I think
we've been talking about doing a podcast for a long time.
I don't wear my glasses when it's up close. So.
Oh, okay. So you're a little nearsighted?
Just a little.
Okay. I've had the cataract surgery, so I'm now farsighted-ish.
I'm due for that pretty soon. So.
Yep. So we've been bantering about doing a podcast for, I don't know, ever? Or at least ever since you announced that you were thinking about retiring.
And I have retired, so now I'm pretty much, well, I'm semi-retired, but I am pretty much free from the restraints of whatever I say on this being connected to my job.
Because you were a responsible corporate broadcasting executive.
That's right.
For a period of time. Not always.
No, but for a long time. And I was also a fundraiser, and I was also on the NPR board of directors. So a couple of things with that. One is if I say something that would go against the beliefs of a major donor, that could be negative. So in other words, you have to just kind of shut up once in a while. And
yeah, I got fired from my last radio job. Got fired from my last radio job for saying something inadvertently about a major advertiser.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
and well, I've had that happen.
We have
I'll
stories.
Tell you that story if you want.
We have stories.
So the other, I didn't get fired, but and the other thing is, yes, what I say or what I said then would reflect on my station, which was an NPR station, and NPR, since I was on the board of directors. Mm-hmm. Even though I didn't speak for NPR, the people who want to make their point at whatever cost to the truth, could say, well, an NPR person did this. And that has happened, not to me directly, but to a student who I had doing a one-day-a-weekend on-air announcing shift that included reading a newscast that was totally prepared by other people. She had no editorial discretion, but the headline in the paper after the interview, or I guess they interviewed me. But anyway, somebody did a story on her anti-Semitism, or their perception of her anti-Semitism. They're trying to make a point. And so the headline comes out, NPR reporter anti-Semite, or whatever.
NPR reporter.
An NPR reporter wrote a column for a student newspaper at University of Illinois that was anti-Semitic. And it was basically their point. And the column was a couple of years before. This person had no editorial control over anything that went out over the radio station. The radio station was not NPR. It carried some NPR programs. So they twisted the whole thing, much like it's done these days.
That damn media. Those damn reporters.
Well, I know. And that's part of why we have to do this podcast, because the truth has to get out.
Oh, I have a fraught relationship with the word "the truth."
The truth.
I don't like to use the word "this is." I don't like to say "this is the truth." This may be my truth.
Well, I've been a reporter for 50 years, so it's my truth. It is the truth. I investigate it and I find the truth. But I think that it's time to do this, because for years I haven't been able to say a lot of stuff. And besides that, you and I have an interesting history, and our families got some very interesting twists and turns to it, some of which we're just finding out now.
Indeed. We have heritage.
And I'm really happy to be retired, because now I don't have to get up at 4:00 in the morning and do that conference call of all of us news people around the country to decide what the agenda for the mainstream media is going to be to bash Donald Trump or the Republicans, or whoever it is. Yeah, we got up every morning, and the heads of, because obviously I worked at an NPR station, so I was NPR. I was on the board. And so I would get up, and the head of NBC, CBS, ABC, other mainstream, Associated Press, all of us, not Fox. They weren't in on this. They didn't get to be. And so we would all sit down and decide what slant we were going to put on the news to make people.
Now I see where you're going with this. Well, yes, of course, everyone knows that that's what's going on. But you did not have anybody from Fox News.
No, we had the big conference call, and Fox News couldn't be on.
We had the left-wing cabal.
Steve Bannon couldn't be on. Those people couldn't be on it. Yes, it was the deep state left-wing cabal conspiracy. And we all met at 4:00 Central Time, so it was 5 out on the East Coast, because they had to get the stuff ready for the
Today Show.
The Today Show and
GMA.
the like. And so we got our talking points in order and then issued them to everybody. And that's how it went at 4:00 in the morning here.
And you were able to accomplish that by airtime for those.
It only took about a half hour. It was pretty easy, because basically
staff already had everything ready to go.
Well, the staff had stuff, but the administration would hand us their talking points, and we would just take them.
So Biden was in on the call.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris was
people. His people were in on it. They had people. And so it was the deep state conspiracy conference call in the morning to decide what the agenda for the news was going to be for the day. Rupert Murdoch and Steve Bannon and some others got together and did the right-wing one, I'm sure. I don't know, because I was not invited in on those.
I was wondering who would take the lead on this, because I have over 600 podcast YouTube shows under my belt. You have about 10,000 radio programs and stuff, right?
Yeah, probably. And I produced podcasts too. One of them went to number 2 in the country, by the way.
What was that?
Suspect Convictions.
One of them true crimers.
Yes.
And you produced it. Did you voice it?
Well, I was the executive producer, because I was the one who...
You had your name on the...
helped frame it
the
with
credits.
I mean the person who came was a guy who had been a reporter in the Quad Cities. This is where the Rock Island, Moline, Illinois, and Davenport, and Bettendorf, Iowa, the Quad Cities. So he got a hold of me because he wanted to follow this case of this guy that was charged with murder, and he'd been tried several times, and they kept trying him. So he wanted to really investigate this. He'd done it for the newspaper when he was there. And so I worked on it with him, and we mapped it out, and then handed it off to one of my program host, producer / news people, who went on to work for CBS, by the way, and now is elsewhere in New York City.
You people need to understand, you are now breathing rarefied air.
Yeah. So anyway,
we know celebrities.
So a guy that and another guy that was an intern with us. So they worked on it. The three of them worked on it together, put 1 million hours into it, and
So you didn't do any work at all.
Well, I was responsible ultimately, and I set it up to begin with, and that's what you do when you're a CEO. You set it up, and then you hand it off for somebody to do the work. And
I've interviewed people who were executive producers, and
well, that's me.
Yeah, it's an honorific. Sometimes the guy I interviewed was executive producer on a TV show called Last Man Standing. Turns out there were like 5 executive producers. He was the only one that did all the work.
Yeah, well, and I'll give credit. Lacey Scarmana was the one who did most of the work, but Scott Reeder was the reporter, and there were some other people involved here and there.
So it was a limited series. It sounds like it was.
Yeah, and I can't remember how many pieces it was. We aired them, and we made a podcast out of them, and it went to number 2 in the country, and it was really funny because the yes moment came. Because back in that time, and this is, 5-6 years ago, This American Life was the big podcast. That's the public radio show that spawned Serial, and on Serial became the true crime.
This American Life is not a podcast. It's a radio show that they put an RSS feed out.
Yeah, exactly. But so we rose in the rankings, the weekly rankings, to beat them and Serial and all of that. So, yeah, we became number 2, and I can't remember what number 1 was. I think it was an NPR thing, maybe
Criminal,
NPR News.
Criminal was.
I don't know if it was or not. I could look back through screenshots that I have of the stuff, but the weekly rankings. But anyway,
now it's Joe Rogan. Now it's Joe Rogan, but he's not a podcast. He's a what is that network? Spotify. He's a Spotify. That's not a podcast. Spotify show.
Yeah, but I don't listen to a lot of that.
Now that we have started, he's quaking in his boots. He doesn't know it yet, but he's quaking in his boots. And if he's not, he should be.
He should be.
Because here we are.
Mm-hmm. We're just 2 guys losing hair. 2 hair compromised, challenged guys.
Yes, because what the world needs most right now is a podcast with 2 old white men.
Well, I think
spinning out stories from the past.
Because we're totally qualified to speak about my current thing that I'm pissed off about, and that is people who are implementing on us the replacement theory, which pisses me off. Scared white men because they're losing power, they're losing control, they're losing whatever. And they're afraid that Biden's wide open border policy, which he doesn't really have, and he's not doing anything about through executive order, even though he's issued 50 or 100 executive orders concerning it. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, yes, that the immigrants that are flooding in and raping all of our women and bringing fentanyl in are going to replace all the white people.
Got news for the white people.
That's what we're doing.
I got news for the white people. Right now, we're still the majority.
Only by a point or 2, though.
Yeah, and it's not going to last.
No, it's not. And that's what they're afraid of. So they're grabbing what they can while they can.
Yeah. Well, we got to make America great again.
Meanwhile, I have.
By the way, so it's two old white left-wing hippie liberal. Turn your head around for the hippie part. The hippie liberal conspiracy theorist. White men podcasters.
I always say I'm an independent. I've been called a libtard and labeled a libtard because, I was associated with NPR, which, does it lean liberal? Well, I suppose if you're really far to the right, you
don't think there's any question that it leans liberal.
Well, to those who are really far to the right.
No, I'm not far to the right, and I can recognize it.
I don't really know. I think NPR tells the truth, and the truth leans left.
Well, yes. Boy, that's a fraught topic.
You don't like the truth. You don't like the word the truth. Facts. Fact-based.
I just watched. Okay, here's a problem. Yeah. I'm 74 years old, and I think I'm still sharp as a tack. And we're going to prove this on the show, whether or not I am.
Are we going to do one of these cognitive tests?
We probably will at some point. But I think Airplane, just in general, as we do these shows, it will sort of be watch one or perhaps two elderly white men podcasters decline into senility.
Well, here's the thing about that.
Well, let me finish my story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I just for the very first time watched the movie A Few Good Men. That's it, the Tom Cruise court story? Am I remembering the right movie name? See, here's the problem.
You'd have to ask my wife. She knows the movies.
Anyway,
I watched
it's the one with Jack Nicholson in it who says,
"You can't handle the truth."
That's the one.
Okay. Yeah. I like that line.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, okay.
I knew that line was coming, but I'd never watched the movie before.
Well, I'm glad you had the opportunity to use it. Fact-based reporting. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. The subject for deep discussion, but we have something more important to do right now, and that is figure out what it is we want to do. Maybe we just did. I'm not sure.
We might have. This could go a million different directions. Probably we ought to start by telling people who we are and what our background is and why why we have the authority to do something like this, and people should listen to it and pay attention to it. Yeah,
there was a good scene. Did you watch Aaron Sorkin's Newsroom? The Newsroom.
Yes.
Wasn't that a great show?
Yes. Yeah.
And there was one episode where Will McAvoy, the anchor, played by one of the two guys in Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. There's some acting range, I guess. Yeah. He's on there and he's ripping. He's talking about the at the time, because Trump wasn't a thing at the time back when they did that, but the Tea Party was, and he was likening them to, as he said, the American Taliban. And he finishes up the segment saying, "And who are we to be telling you all of this? We're the media elite."
We are the media elite.
I'm not sure though. I don't know if those are the words. It was stronger than mainstream media. I think it was media elite. I'll have to go back and look.
I am the media elite. I've been in management positions in media for 50 years.
Yeah, and I was a disc jockey for 3 months.
Yeah, you were. You were a good one too. Till you said that thing about a sponsor. Yeah. So my sponsor is Dixie Truck Stops.
Hold it over a little bit. Are you watching the Zoom that's got the 2-shot?
I don't know.
Don't watch yourself. Watch the 2-shot.
Okay. But if I watch that, then I don't look like I'm looking at the camera.
Then you look like you're looking at me.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Oh, you got your monitor on the wrong side. Or I got you on the wrong side.
You got me on the wrong side.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
If I go look at the monitor you're actually on, I'm looking over there, which is a little bit too on the nose. So,
well, I can move my camera around. I don't know.
Yeah,
you're the video guy, not me. I'm the audio guy.
And that's another question. Do we want to do a video podcast or just audio?
I think we should do video because it's more authentic. It shows who we are. We're not hiding anything. Not hiding.
And you say that because it appears I'm the one who's going to do all the work.
Yeah, well, you're the video guy.
Yeah, I guess I should show people the studio. As long as
you're the producer.
As long as we're doing stuff. This is the. Let me widen the studio shot out here. Okay, so whenever I introduce a show, of the many shows that I do, I get this shot on there and I say, from the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Fort Mill, South Carolina, which, by the way, is where I am, Fort Mill, South Carolina, in the shadow of Charlotte and the foot of Mount Belzoni. And on the political podcast, I add in the buckle of the Bible Belt, which I think is going to be appropriate for us. In the buckle of the Bible Belt, this is, and then I say the name of the show. And right now, I don't know the name of the show.
Two old guys losing their hair. I don't know.
Let's workshop some names.
So I can show you where I am. I'm in the attic.
Oh, wait. I'll give you a full shot here.
Okay. I'm in the attic.
Well, I can sort of tell that it's a bit of a sloping.
There.
Yeah, okay.
It's an attic full of junk.
There we go.
And I have a little work area carved out in the corner because I do fill-ins on radio stations.
So you're not fully retired?
No. And I'm also the executive director of the Illinois Public Broadcasting Council. So,
well, now you've got to be responsible again.
Well, yeah, but, yeah.
Okay, you guys are the Illinois Public what?
Broadcasting Council.
Yeah, you have an important, once again, you're going to say something, you're going to tarnish them, and they're going to get mad at you and boot you out.
Well, no, they're not, because I'm the executive director. But I'll tell you one thing. It's just like the people who are going to give public broadcasting stations money, or not, the lawmakers who are going to support us are probably already going to support us, despite what I say. And the ones who aren't, the ones who aren't, because, I talk to them, because my job, in part, is to get more money from the state of Illinois for public radio and television up and down the state. And the problem is that when I talk to lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, they already have the talking points. They already have them. And I talk to them, and I talk to them about public broadcasting and what we do, and they go, well, NPR, and it's a left thing, and it's propaganda and all of this stuff. And I go, like, can you just take the talking point? So I really have now begun saying, I want to talk to you about public broadcasting, but put the talking points away, because I know you have them. And I know you've received them, and I know what they say. And if you start reciting them, we're not going to be able to have a discussion. So if you want me to recite them to you to begin the discussion so you don't have to say them, I can do that. But put them away.
What are those talking points?
And it's basically, we're liberal, we're left-leaning. And
okay, so they're interviewing you to suss out the secrets of who you are.
Well, anyway, so the secrets of who we are is, and we have to defund NPR because it shouldn't be getting public money anyway. Taxpayer money. I don't want my tax dollars spent on NPR. Well, you know what? Here's the truth of the matter. And this pisses me off because people say that and they don't even know what they're talking about. First of all, how much of your tax money goes? Okay, you want your $1.34 back? I'll give you $1.34. And then you can stop talking to me. That
is an average of what everybody's taxes go.
That's about it. Yeah, that's the per capita amount
a year
from the federal government. A year, yeah. And the other thing is that when you defund NPR, you don't even know what you're talking about because you're not giving money to NPR directly. So that's ridiculous argument.
No, they got that hamburger money.
You're not going to make NPR go away. Because obviously George Soros will just replace it, but
and Ray Kroc's widow,
and yeah, exactly.
That's where the big chunk came from, right?
A one-time contribution a long time ago.
One-time contribution of a couple of $1 billion. It
wasn't billions; it was millions. But it was a long time ago. It was like 7 million or something. It wasn't that much. 700
They already spent that flying you back and forth to Washington.
No, a lot of it's invested, and they live off the. Yeah, exactly. I didn't fly; I drove. A lot because I don't fly because airlines suck.
You don't fly at all?
No. And we can get into that. My wife is a paraplegic, and airlines and wheelchair people don't mix. It's awful.
It's tough, yeah.
And so where else was I going with? Oh yeah, the 9 yards of it.
He's got something to say. He's going to get it all out on this recording, and we'll have nothing left.
Oh, we'll
be done.
We'll have plenty.
Okay.
Well, the long and the short of it is, the federal dollars go through a nonpartisan thing called the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It's bipartisan, say.
The $1.34.
And radio stations that are qualified to be qualified for community service grants from CPB, and you got to meet some strict qualifications. It's a competitive grant program, and the money goes to the stations who can choose whether they want to buy NPR programming or not. They don't have to. There's nothing that says they have to.
People probably don't understand when they listen to NPR. At the beginning and the end of the shows that they listen to on NPR, somebody is saying from American Public Broadcasting, from something else. They got how many
Public Media?
How many different little networks are there? Or
Public Radio Exchange?
Yeah, Marketplace.
Marketplace is American Public Media. There's Public Radio Exchange. There's Public Radio International. There's NPR. There's a lot. There's the WFMT network. There, name it.
Now, NPR is going to be the big dog. It's the 800-pound.
Well, NPR is the big dog. And the reason stations run NPR programming, especially Morning Edition and All Things Considered, is because it's very popular. It has more listeners than Fox has viewers. Yeah. And so it's very popular. And
say that again. You loved saying that.
It has more listeners than Fox has viewers. It has more listeners than Rush Limbaugh had.
And they're on average 3 years younger.
They are. And
they're trying real hard, though, for younger listeners.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And here's the deal. So the reason that you run the NPR programming is, A, it meets your mission, basically, and it also attracts listeners, and you have to attract listeners to get donations. And 80% of the money that a typical public radio station, NPR affiliate, gets comes from listeners and local businesses that underwrite. Not commercials, underwriting announcements.
Because they can't run commercials.
No.
But they can in their podcasts.
Oh, they can in the podcast.
That's why they do the podcast.
You can do it online. You can do it online, yes.
Yeah. That'll be another story, because you ran a radio station during, we're really kind of still in the middle of it, the transition from radio to podcasting or to some other version of media distribution.
It's all radio.
It's still people yapping into microphones.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just packaged and distributed differently.
It's the same thing, but it's different. It's like like those boxes of stuff you buy at the store that say, same great product, new package.
In 1995, I built one of the first radio stations that was on air and online. We were streaming in 1995 when nobody knew what it was.
And we were streaming to 4 people who had a modem fast enough to be able to get it.
You know what? We streamed and we got the way we didn't get ratings because we couldn't afford to buy them, but we would get the emails from all over the world, and we would put them in a binder, and we would show people that we had thousands of listeners worldwide, even back then, struggling to listen to us on dial-up modems. And our streaming was, I don't know, what was it, 8K at the time or something. It sounded like Jacques Cousteau underwater. But
hello, people coming from Champagne, Illinois. You were in Champagne, right?
Yeah, and that's where I am still. But people wanted the content. We call it content now.
Yeah, the radio station was WEBX.
WEBX, the web. And
it was like ahead of its time.
It was way ahead of its time.
But nobody yet has done anything quite like that.
No, we built the station from the ground up to be on air and online, and we invented several things that you take for granted with radio stations now.
Yeah. There was a time when TV stations, even cable networks, radio stations, thought that there would be a tight integration between online and on air. There's a network whose whole name is based on that, MSNBC. What's the MS stand for?
Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft NBC. Microsoft long gone, still called MSNBC. They had to keep calling it that because CNBC was taken, cable NBC. That's the news version. And people were thinking, well, there's going to be this tight integration. We'll be broadcasting, but we'll be bringing things in from the internet. Never happened. The only thing that they've been bringing in from the internet was to put tweets on screen. And not even in real time. That's it. That's the integration.
Well, we integrated heavily. We basically, you could look at our website, webxfm.com. Back then, you can find some screenshots of it in the Wayback Machine. But even back then, we were putting everything. We were putting our sponsors on there. We were building web pages for our sponsors, commercial advertisers. We were. We even had a thing that you could never get away with today, but we had a thing with the local hospital. We had a contract where they paid us to put up a page that had pictures of all the new babies that were born. I go back in radio to when
that is a radio, a small market radio thing.
And I remember back in my early days of radio, we used to call the local hospitals, and the nurses would read us all the admissions and discharges. Think about that today and the HIPAA laws. You can never get away with that. And we read all the deaths, the in memoriams. But anyway, I tangent. The long and short of it is
that by the way, could be the name of the show, The Tangent Show. The Chasing Rabbits.
Tangentially speaking.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, just yell squirrel, and I'll come back to. Yeah. So anyway,
if you can remember what it was you were talking about.
The long and short of it. Yeah, I should write stuff down. But the long and short of it is that we would, you could tell what was playing, the song, title, and artist, and then you could click on it, and it would take you to the web store, and you could buy the CD. How cool is that? And we replicated this for, I think we were on 13 different radio stations, Magnitude Network. I think we had 13 stations across the country. That we invented the Mag Box, which a station could just plug any audio, headphone jack, whatever you wanted to get audio into it. We ran it through a simple processor to make it sound better than other stations that didn't have processing, and some still don't on their internet feeds. And then we would run it through a T3 line at the time back to us, and we would stream it for you. And we would do your website for you and the whole 9 yards. That is what made the investor who gave us the money to build all of this a fortune. He was a hedge fund and real estate developer, and he made millions off of this. I think we built the radio station for $50,000. We bought a radio station that was running Rush Limbaugh, but was getting no ratings, and it wasn't even on the air most of the time. We fixed it up. Our brother helped me do it, our other brother, and so anyway, we built this radio station, including a new transmitter and everything. Built the studios, $50,000. It was $200,000 to buy the thing, so you got $250 invested in it. It was only 2 or 3 years later the whole company was sold. The radio station was sold first. I think it was $600,000 or something, but the price for the internet side. I
got a ham radio blaring in the background.
Oh, okay, that's what that is.
Keep telling people the story.
So anyway, so he sold the whole thing for like $15 million to the company that owned the web portal Lycos, if you remember that. That was one of the ways to get on the internet in the early days. So, but we were the first radio station that was a preset on the Real Audio player, if you remember back to that. We were working with the guys that invented Netscape Navigator. They were from University of Illinois. And we were way ahead of the game. And the sad part of it is that I'm not a businessman. I'm a creator of things. Somebody else does the business part. So I made nothing out of it. I ended up getting fired. And that was it.
Okay. I've been paying no attention to what you're saying.
The guy made $15 million off of what we all built, and we all ended up getting fired, and he sold it.
But I'm paying a little attention to what you're saying. What I want you to do is take your camera and pan it to put yourself on the I can never do this because I'm looking at things backwards. Other way. A little farther, a little farther, a little more. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going. A little farther.
Jeez.
Okay, perfect. Right there. Stop right there. Okay, here we go. Watch this.
That's pretty cool.
Here we are.
That works better.
Somehow you're a lot brighter than I am, which is, always generally true.
I can change that.
Well, no, I've got professional studio. Yeah, that's perfect. I've got professional studio lighting. And,
I have a lamp with a 3-way bulb.
Yeah. And maybe you look a little green. I'm not sure. Anyway, yes, this is green screen magic. This is why I was not paying attention to you, because I was working on this. We should actually both be a little wider in the shots so that we're not overlapping. I don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I can go back.
And now in order for me to look like I'm looking at you, I have to look way over there, which I've got nothing over. Oh, and my hand disappears.
And your hand disappeared.
We'll work on
Eat your hand.
Work on this. I can pat you on the head.
Yeah, we can work on this. Well, I can move over a little bit too.
Yeah.
So anyway, so are we going to start? When are we going to start?
We're almost done.
But who wants to hear all that stuff? It's out of context. It's just rambling. And
yeah, well, this is if this turns out to be the show, and I think it's going to turn out to be the show. It is episode 1 because there was a thing in podcasting. If you were going to do a practice episode, if you're going to do a warm up, just test things out, but record it because legacy and all that stuff, you would call it episode 0.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Apple Podcast does not let you label episode 0. They make you start at 1. For some reason, a digital company, zeros and ones, they make you start at episode 1. So this will be episode 1. And now the question is, what is it episode 1 of?
I don't know.
Okay, we got to workshop this.
Yeah, we do. We got to think about it.
I mean, there's the easy thing. It's the Jay and Gary show. I'm going to give you top billing because that works better onomatopoetically. The Jay and Gary show. I don't know if that's onomatopoeia. I don't know what meter that is, but it works better. The Jay.
It's like the Steve and Gary show.
Oh, that's probably where I got it from. Steve and Gary.
Probably is.
Yeah. Okay, you can be Steve. And I was wondering going into this, because we are 2 alpha broadcasters, which one was going to take over? Which one, by sheer force of personality and drive, was going to be the program driver? And it turns out it's you.
I don't know. I'm an introvert though. So
well, we both are. Yeah, I am too. I'm a party vegetable.
Or what do they call that? An extroverted introvert or whatever?
A lot of broadcasters, it's a thing. A lot of broadcasters are, and other people in public life, in private life, are very introverted. Very much just leave me alone.
The only reason that I extrovert is to make up for whatever our parents bestowed upon us that made me feel less than adequate. So I had to be out there. I had to be out there.
Yeah.
So,
probably
and it was,
we're probably both dealing with serious imposter syndrome.
Oh, yes. Oh God, yes. We can talk. That can be a whole episode.
Yeah.
I can tell you about that.
This is
and PTSD.
There was I was just in an interview somewhere. One of the flying Walendas.
Yeah.
One of the tightrope walker guys, maybe the original. I'm not sure. Well, maybe one of his kids do an interview. And, the line that stuck with me was, life is on the wire. Everything else is just waiting. So I don't know about you, but for me, and I mean, this is exaggerating quite a bit. Not really true, but when you turn on the mic and you throw the switch, and if you're on live radio, the clock strikes top of the hour, and you turn on the mic, that's when life began. Everything else is just waiting for that moment.
Huh.
How does that
Cool
sound to you?
Yeah, and I think about that.
And now our wives are going to go, wait, what?
I know, right? Well, we have to deal with them in real life.
Yeah.
But, the on-the-air part of it, I mean, seriously, you develop your persona. You put out there what you put. And radio is show business. And the more genuine you sound, the more work's probably gone into getting to the point where you could sound genuine and sound like you're not. Yes, it's sounding like you're not being a reporter. Because if you just go on the air and you just sound like you do in everyday life, that's why people go, well, you don't sound like, when you meet them in real person, do your radio voice. It's because, it is exactly. I mean, normally if people talk to me in person, I sound like this, or whatever.
You do not.
But on radio, no, I mean, it's seriously.
Got to put your hand on it and hold the earpiece in and listen to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Gary.
Remember when we used to do the And Now contest?
Yeah, we used to. And now.
I'm 74. I can't do that anymore.
I'm going to be 70 this year. I can't believe that.
Yeah,
but
two old white men.
I know. So two old white men. So I had an idea for one. I became friends with Bob Weir's guitar tech, and if you know who Bob Weir is, with one of the original
Grateful
Dead. And so I became friends with his guitar tech through a series of fun stuff. And we used to go get coffee together. And it was just like, we called ourselves Two Guys Getting Coffee. But that was kind of like a Seinfeld already took that. But
yeah, it sounded really familiar, and you weren't part of it.
I thought it would be fun to name a podcast that sometimes. We talked about it. But so I picked up on this thing, and I'm like 2 degrees from. And I'm 2 degrees from a lot of fame and fortune. 1 degree from some of it, which means you're 2 degrees from it. But I could list a whole list of people.
Well, you're 1 degree from me. And I'm 1 degree from you. And I'm a Z-list celebrity.
A Z-list celebrity?
Yeah. Well,
so where do I get to be?
You're probably way up from that. Because my Z-list celebrity is that I can competently and accurately and truthfully say that millions upon millions of people have heard my voice.
Well, I bet that's true of me too, because I've been on the network and network news.
Okay, millions more than you. Well, actually, since you say that NPR is heard by more people than Fox News, we may be roughly equivalent.
Although I've never been on NPR I've never been on NPR nationally.
Really?
Associated Press, Radio News. No, I have not been on NPR. I've never filed a report for NPR. I've done behind the scenes stuff.
Because I was going to ask you about that, because I understood, at least back in the day, that if you were a member station reporter, and you had a national story, and it was breaking too fast for them to send a reporter there, so they're going to use the report from the local station, they would have you record your story.
Yes.
And then they would call you up and have you do it better.
Go through the edit.
Do it better.
Yeah, the edit's
that's a little bit. You get what they call in the business these days notes.
No, you get an edit, and yes, you record your part.
Yeah, not just an edit. I mean, it's recorded again. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I know this process because but although I haven't done it myself, but so I used to feed stories to other radio stations, so like KMOX in St. Louis, WBBM in Chicago, and WGN and others that, because back in the day, NPR might not be interested. They might say it's a little too local. But anyway, where was I? Oh, and I was the news director of a statewide radio network in Illinois that had millions of listeners, probably, because we were on KMOX and WBBM and 50 other stations. But what was I going to say? Where were we on this? We were talking about the edit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so you do your story and you send it to them, and God, before email and stuff, you would fax them the script. Yeah. You would have to fax it, and And then you would send them your audio over the phone line. You would play the audio back down, and they would say, okay, well, do you have any other sound bites that sound better than this? Or just play a little bit more of this. I want to hear more of this. And then they would grab what they wanted. And they would take your script and rewrite it and send it back to you. And then you would re-record it, and you would record your pieces again. They would edit it all together. And it may or may not come out sounding at all like your local story that you wrote first. But,
But in terms of your performance, in terms of your reading, they wanted you to sound NPR, not local station reporter.
Yeah, there is an NPR style, but I think if you listen to NPR now, it's a lot more diverse sounding. I mean, listen to the difference between Steve Inskeep, who can be kind of goofy, and Aisha Roscoe.
Well, Aisha Roscoe is
Sunday morning
the odd voice out at this point.
Well, Scott Simon, he's. But then, so who's the stereotypical? I don't know. Robert Siegel, was he it? Bob Edwards, was he it? I don't know. Everybody's different. When you get down to it, Terry Gross is very natural sounding.
Different and yet the same. Okay.
I suppose you could say that.
Couple of minutes here. We're gonna be an NPR show. Okay, Jay, we're now an NPR show. Do we sound a little bit different than we did just a moment ago?
Well, I suppose we could if we bring our tone down and moderate it, and but
we're still Car Talk was an original odd duck.
One of the most popular shows on NPR, though. Yeah. And Baxter Black.
The weekend shows. Wait a minute, we're still in NPR. The weekend shows did show a certain amount of diversity that you didn't get during the weekday shows.
Well, it was very measured and it was very paced, and
I mean, no, I would not say I would say Car Talk was
an
unusual program designed to be total entertainment. And the two hosts were not professional broadcasters, although they developed an on-air style that was very entertaining.
Yeah. And I'm
tired of being NPR.
Yeah, I don't know. There's an NPR style, but I suppose there's style with everything. Come into a country station and do a top 40 thing, or an NPR sounding thing. I worked in country radio as a disc jockey, and I sounded a lot different than I did doing news on a top 40 station. So, it's show business. Yes, and NPR does have a sound. It has a tone. It has a pace. I'll give you that.
Yep.
So
we're stalling out here. We'll have a 5-second silence timer. And if 5 seconds goes by and we don't have something to say, the show ends.
Oh, I don't know what else to talk about in this inaugural zero episode.
Well, we do have the business. We have some business to do. We have to figure out what the show is going to be called. Now,
what's it going to be?
I'm positing the Jay and Gary Show. First we need to establish a corporate empire. Pearce Brothers Broadcasting. No, Pearce Brothers Podcasting. We can't be PearceBrothers.com because that already exists. It's a paint store, I think.
Is it?
Cool. A hardware store or something. I looked up PearceBrothers.com.
Yeah.
Gone. And now here's the difference between doing an audio show and a video show. If this were really a video show, our technical director would be rapidly bringing up PearceBrothers.com over on on some monitor someplace. And okay, I'm on the wrong side because now I'm looking.
I've moved from coffee to moonshine.
Distill that yourself?
Because I'm retired and you can start drinking anytime.
Oops. And here's the problem. We need a technical director. We need not me, because I get way too distracted trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah. What's Cindy doing?
Sleeping, I think.
Oh. Well, she could be technical directing this.
Man, Google does not want to play nice with me right now. Let me.
Well, what do you want to
my
look
browser
at?
back up. Well, I can put it online because I have the big station.
I can't look it up. I shut off my phone.
Here we go.
I shut off my phone because I didn't want it to ring because I made the mistake of going into a site and giving them my email address while I was looking for how much the interest rate on a HELOC or HELOC or whatever you call it would be. And now I've got mortgage people from all over the country calling me, trying to get me to refinance with them.
PearceBrothers.com. Fresh pecans. Order pecans.
Pecans.
Pecan. Somebody said a pecan is what you keep by the side of the bed.
Uh-huh.
We have fully refurbished. Wait, pecans are now in stock.
So this is an actual thing? That's
okay. Cool. So I thought it was a hardware. I looked it up a long time ago, and sort of like vaguely remembered what it was. Not a hardware store. It's a pecan nut cracking machine company.
Nice.
Everything is pecan. Let's check the testimonials, and they've got our name. They even spell it right.
Nice.
We bought a machine in 2020 and ran over 20,000 pounds through it. I wish I had two more like it, said Al Partain from Alabama. Great machine.
Over 2,000 pounds of pecans.
Yeah, great machine. We cracked peanuts, almonds, English walnut. I'll tell you about my vision in a little bit. English walnuts and pecans for the public. A lot of return customers. That was from M. Thrasher in Georgia. G. Cooley in Illinois. You were starting to read his.
Hey. Yeah, but I can't really read it. It's too small on the screen.
A little fuzzy. Cracked over 2,000 pounds of Pawnee and Kansas pecans. Pecans. Wow. Do you know anything about a Pawnee or a Kansas pecan?
Pawnee? Well, there's a Pawnee, Illinois. I don't know. It's maybe
zoom right in there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
We bought a machine in 2020. You already read that.
Yeah. I thought I zoomed in on. Oh, I see the problem. It's moved itself around.
Yeah. Cracked over 2,000 pounds of Pawnee and Kansas pecans.
Cracks good. Cracks easy to pick out.
Yeah.
We've had the machine for over 6 years with no trouble or mechanical issues.
Remember Stuckey's and the pecan logs? We used to stop at Stuckey's when we were kids going on vacation.
I think there's still a few around.
And our parents used to drive us around. We had to take two cars on vacation so we could put a water ski boat behind the station wagon with a sailboat on top, and then the other car would pull the little pop-up tent camper thing that we took. And we'd all end up at some campsite with all of this stuff, and you and Andy would go inside and hook up a TV set to a car and a ham radio to a car battery.
Yep.
And stay inside the tent all day.
Now, there's something important that the audience needs to know. It's about both of us, but it's a little bit more about me. And that is that my memory is shot. It was never any good. And I'm not sure why. I'm going to blame it on a fever that I had when I was 2.5 years old.
It took all the enamel off your teeth, by the way.
Took all the enamel off my teeth.
Melted your teeth.
Yep. The stories we heard from Mom, who was a nurse, said that our doctor, remember our doctor's name?
Dr. Alvarez?
Dr. Alper. Dr. Alper. If I'm remembering correctly. And
I don't know. I had a Dr. Alvarez.
Okay. My point being that he had a thermometer that went to 108, and I pegged it. Which
you shouldn't be alive.
I should not be alive. But at 2 years old, and they pack you in ice and stuff, that apparently, and the story may be apocryphal. I don't know. I'm repeating what I sort of remember. But what I think is that it destroyed something in my brain, which is where most people get to store long-term memories. And all I have are little snapshots.
So it's not just you're blocking it because it was so horrific to be a child in our family.
Well, that's the other possibility, except that you lived in the same family and you remember all this stuff quite painfully.
Yeah, but you and Andy got it first. I took up the rear. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, the shit rolls downhill.
They were tired of it. They were tired of kids by the time I came of age. So
I believe that every parent would tell the same story.
I pretty much just got to raise myself.
Yeah. First kid, I was the oldest. I was the first kid. It's like all the attention, all the doting, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
About the third kid, been there, done that. Figure it out, kid.
And Andy was the quintessential middle kid.
Yeah.
You can look that up if you want. Middle kids.
Yes.
I won't cast anything on him.
He's also the missing kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 20 years.
Yep. We haven't seen our brother in 20 years. He disappeared off the face of the earth.
Off the grid.
Yep. Brilliant engineer.
Yeah.
So somehow this entire family got involved in broadcasting, radio, television. Not from anything that our parents handed down to us, because our dad was in insurance.
Yep.
Mom was in healthcare. She was a nurse. Plenty of other stories. They're both deceased, so we can tell all the stories we want. The only people that'll be horrified are our cousins.
They know it.
Yeah, they know it anyway. Well, they know it, but they're not telling everybody about it.
No. But what do you see? See, now I'm getting it, man.
It's contagious. But you remember all the stories of our youth, like this thing about taking two cars on vacation.
Yeah,
I could not have dredged
you
that
and
up
Andy
from memory.
You would ride in one car and Andy would ride in the other, and you had walkie-talkies so you could keep in touch. I remember doing that driving through Carmel, California, and you guys were talking back and forth between the cars. Anyway, so long and short of it was, well, I had something really cool and important to say.
And I distracted you. This is going to happen a lot.
20 years. It's over 20 years.
Yeah, you were the last one to hear anything from him. He said, I'm going on vacation. Yeah. You might not hear from me for a while.
He was the photographer at my wedding. That's the last time I saw him. And I talked to him after that, but that's it. So were you at my wedding?
Which one?
Well, the one that I'm...
the current one.
That started the current one.
I may well have been, but if I'd have been, I would have been shooting video of it, and I don't have that video, so I don't remember.
If you were or not. I don't think you were.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Wow. Anyway, it was a good one. It was a really good one. You should have been. It was a really good one. We went through a long period.
You were at mine.
Yeah, I was.
My second one, not my first one.
Yeah, and I remember that I was at your first one.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me some details about it to prove that you were there.
Well, I got a picture of it as outside of a church or a synagogue or whatever in Winnetka. I think it was a brown brick building, and we were out there. Grandma was there. Andy and I were there, and we were dressed up in matching light blue sport coats and dark blue pants. We had ties on. I think the wedding reception or rehearsal dinner, I remember which, was at the Millionaires Club. And I remember that your first wife had a sister that was close to my age, who I thought was hot.
She was.
She had another sister who was a little bit older that somehow Andy and I were driving her back from out on the East Coast one time. I don't remember. Anyway. Okay.
The detail I was looking for, because it's the only detail I remember. I don't remember you guys being there at all. This is a good example of what I don't remember.
Because you had to step on the glass. You had to break the glass because it was a Jewish ceremony.
Yeah, it was a Jewish ceremony, and because I was a Gentile, we couldn't hold it in the synagogue. We held it in the rabbi's office.
Was in the rabbi's office? Okay, well, that could have been. So, and then... but then there was they put a napkin or a cloth or whatever over the glass so you wouldn't
step on it.
Hurt your foot. Yeah, you had to step on it. So I remember that.
Which, by the way, didn't work.
No,
because I think that
cut your foot.
No, I didn't cut my foot. I think that the idea of doing that is for some kind of longevity of the marriage.
Oh,
I mean, it made it 7 years.
I remember painting your apartment down in Rogers Park. We went and cleaned up and painted your whole apartment.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were there. Dad and I went down and we painted the whole thing, and then you moved in, you lived there, and yeah, that's where your car got broken into, your convertible top got sliced, and they stole something.
Yep, I do remember that. I have the snapshot memory. I have little snapshots, or you know how an iPhone will take like about 3 or 4 frames of motion?
Yeah.
That's what my memory is.
And then you moved out to a western suburb.
No, we moved in together in Wilmette.
Well, yeah, initially.
For a couple of years.
We all lived in that one place in Wilmette.
Yeah.
And then you moved out to a western Glen.
Des Plaines.
What was it? No, it wasn't Des Plaines. It was another one. 2 words.
Glendale Heights, but that
Glendale
was...
Heights. Yeah,
see, now here my memory is working better than yours because there's a whole lot of things that happened in between those.
Well, sure there was, but the reason I'm mentioning the Glendale Heights is it's the first time that I was bigger than you, and you couldn't beat me up anymore. And I remember picking you up and carrying you out through your sliding glass door to the patio, and it snowed out there, and I set you down and closed the door. And I remember that distinctly because you and Andy used to pick on me all the time. And then I was finally bigger than you, and
this has been a great show. It's been great having you here. And I gotta go.
You shot me in the ear with a BB. Andy hit me in the head with a golf club. I have a scar on my leg from where he put some burning plastic on it.
Answering a lot of how did this happen questions now.
And then there was the zip line.
I blame the fever, but
there was the zip line in the backyard. That was a hard one. The zip line was bad. The shrapnel from the cherry bomb and the high C can. I got a lot of scars, battle scars from growing up with you guys.
Okay, so I am going to blame the memory thing on things were just too hard to take in, but it's been going on all my life. It has. I have almost no memories of mom and dad.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, I can't remember a conversation.
Well, I'll tell you about them.
There'd be plenty. So this is no longer a podcast. It is now a therapy session.
Yeah, and that's probably what the hook is going to be for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Therapy session.
So the Jay and Gary show, Pearce Brothers podcasting will be the corporate parent because other people are going to want to get in on this act. And so we established Pearce Brothers podcasting. We'll start making money because other people wanted a show of their own under our banner.
Yeah, okay.
And so the Pearce Brothers podcasting is the high level.
And then we can syndicate them.
I want to make sure my elbow's not disappearing. And then the Jay and Gary show is the premier anchor program.
But the Jay and Gary show is JAG, right?
Yes.
JAG. So
and there's already been one of those. So.
Well, there has, but then people will be able to say to each other, like, when they're anticipating the next one on, they'll go, is JAG on or is JAG off? Sorry.
We had now here's a snapshot memory that I've got. Don't ask me why I'm remembering this, but we had and I can't even tell you which one, a relative that we didn't see very often, who said, and we were teenagers at the time, and maybe this will stir a memory. Maybe you weren't there. It's how she could remember her. This might have been our grandma Mary, who was a grandmother by marriage. Mm-hmm. Been a lot of marriages and divorces in the family. Grandma Mary, who we only saw a few times, she says, how I can remember her grandsons' names were Jay, Andy, Gary, Jag. I remember your names because of Jag. And of course, we're teenagers going,
and I'd still do that. That's still funny.
Yeah, because you just pulled it out.
I know,
so to speak.
I think my development ended when I was about 14.
Yeah.
If it ever progressed that far. But yeah, that stuff's still funny. But yeah, I think so. That's And Mom and Dad used to have to go through all of our names to get to the right one. And Gary. So Dad used to call us, he would made up names. You were GP and Andy was Creepy. You were GP and Creepy.
Mm-hmm.
When you were Golembooski and Andy was Ambi Duke, the Duke of Key Luke. And I was JT Tuck-Tuz McPutendobber Poots Pierce.
There's a podcast name. This, by the way, this is what I'm going to call the Friends and Family Edition. Because the only people, assuming that we put this up someplace, get the RSS feed, get a website, things like that. I'm going to ask you about that in a moment. The only people that are ever going to see this initially will be if we put this on our Facebook feeds and wherever else we have contact with friends and family. Those are the people that are going to see this. Because
all right, well,
how does anybody else see it?
I don't know. I'll put it on my Facebook page. I have over 1,000 friends, 1,300.
Really? That's all?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many Facebook friends do I have?
But I'm an introvert, so I don't have that many.
Go to my.
And you know, the thing of it is, I know every one of them. I don't just add people that I don't know.
I have 1,800 friends.
1,800. Wow. How many friends in person do you have outside of Facebook?
Of those people, what I do on Facebook is I get a couple of friend requests every week.
Wow, you're famous.
I'm famous. Well, I do. Where is it here? This this show, Ham Radio Now.
Oh yeah. I've watched that.
We're in episode 514 or something like that we've done. So we've done over 500 of them. Although I walked away from it in 2018 to do some political stuff.
Yeah.
And then I came back to it a couple of years ago. So there's a few episodes that I wasn't on, but that's where most of them come from.
From some hams that I know, they wouldn't like your political show.
Most of the hams don't like the political stuff. They won't like this either. But, okay, so let me...
Well, that's fine, because I don't like them either. Well, it's not that I don't like them. I don't hold stuff against people. I don't like their views. I don't like their lack of education on certain issues. So their willingness, you know what it all comes down to, and I'll talk about this in a future podcast, is marketing. How susceptible we are to marketing and how it's the root of a lot of evil. It's not all bad, but some of it's bad. And it's why we wear neckties and suits. Neckties, I put them on just out of respect for other people, but I never understood, how did we have to have neckties? And what do they add to anything? And, but people go, well, your credibility and your respect and stuff. And I go, yeah, but who invented that? Who decided that? In fact, you go way back, and clothes were a utilitarian thing. So you weren't exposed to the elements, but then they became a symbol of something. And it was basically, I think, this is my brain, it became, it was a military. The military wore uniforms, and then we adopted them because we associated that with being respected. And then it's gone through suits and ties and, the whole 9 yards. And
I've got a graphic to stick up here and a sound effect. Are you ready? Okay. Watch for this. Here it comes. Watch your screen.
I love that. That's good. I have a lot of rants.
Do I need to run that again?
No, that's fine.
Instant editorial rant.
I have a lot of rants.
They're
not editorials, though. It's true. And I wrote for the Contemporary Club, I wrote this essay. It's a published essay, by the way. You can look it up. And I wrote this for the Contemporary Club in the Quad Cities, which is, high thinkers and stuff, and we call ourselves immortals. And there's these clubs here and there around the United States, but the one in the Quad Cities is one of the oldest. And you really have to work at it to get in. You have to be invited and all this stuff. And I was very honored to be a part of it. And the people you associate with are lawyers, judges, business owners, this and that. So, but I wrote this whole thing and delivered it, and they liked it. And it was all about how marketing can be insidious, and the whole premise of the thing. And it did have a political bent as to why we become parts of political cults, for lack of a better word. But it all started with, why do we pay for Bayer aspirin and we pay $10 a bottle when you can get the generic that has the exact same ingredients in it for $2 a bottle? It's marketing. That's why.
Brand. Yeah.
We're being marketed to believe that Bayer has something that the others don't, and it's not true. It's the exact same ingredients. I just don't. I was trying to look up a friend request because I got a lot of them in here, and I don't take them unless I know them. But
that's how I've gotten so many more than you, because I take every friend request, but I'll accept them as a friend and then unfollow them so that my Facebook feed isn't full of other people's stuff.
So there's one Bucky Dent. That's we have 12 mutual friends. I don't know Bucky Dent, other than that was the name of a White Sox player back in the 70s.
He owns that chain of highway giant mega gas station.
Is that who that is?
Buc-ee's.
Are you serious?
No.
Gotcha. But there are some. I was trying to look up one, and I think I get rid of them all because I don't want them polluting my Facebook. Anything. Like
I say, you just you unfollow, and then you never see them again, and they probably never see you again either. They just somehow you popped up in their suggested friends thing, and everyone wants more friends. So but
I get a lot from people in women in swimsuits.
Oh yeah, I get a lot of that. And I don't accept those.
I look at them just to see who our mutual friends are, because some people that I know accept those.
We have 20 mutual friends, it appears.
We do.
I'm surprised it's that low. Watch out, the 5-second timer is going to get us.
You would think over the course of our lives that we would have more. I have 1,434 friends.
Okay, so I have 1,800. But like I said, of those 1,800, 30 or 40 are going to get the post that this exists. So we'll need we need some infrastructure.
Okay.
We need YouTube channel.
I have 6 Garys as friends.
That's completely irrelevant.
No, I was just so we need a structure.
We can go back to speak of when the name Gary was popular.
Well, sometimes you have to just throw stuff out, and then like spaghetti, and you see what sticks to the wall and that you can run with, because a lot of stuff that we would say would just be like interesting to us maybe, but people don't care about it. So, but then there is an element, there's a kernel in there that people can relate to. And that's what you got to, because our lives have been pretty whacked out. We've done some pretty weird stuff, and some of it we won't talk about, but people can relate to a lot of it. Because
not yet, but maybe someday, I don't know.
Or they can live their lives vicariously through us, or relive stuff that they would never talk about that we would talk about. But then we won't go a step farther and talk about some of it.
There's something I was thinking of as we were doing this is, and in podcasting in general, one of the things people say if you want a successful podcast, and we haven't discussed whether or not we want a successful podcast or not. This could be just an entire ego podcast seen by 50 or 60 people, maybe, or it could blow up, and who knows. What people say, if you want a really successful podcast, is you need to find a niche, really narrowly targeted in something, and then you will get thousands of people. Even if it's a really narrow niche, you'll still have thousands of people who'll be interested, and you'll get a thousands of people podcast.
I follow this WD-40 guy on Reels. I guess it's TikTok. I don't know a lot of this stuff. my wife does, but he does these little short things on WD-40, uses for WD-40.
That is a niche.
I learn a lot.
And he's probably got thousands of followers.
Oh, he does. Yeah. More than that. Probably making a lot of money off it.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Do we want to make money off of it? Or do we want it just, the other thing about it is people can go to podcasts and other media, radio shows or whatever, for topical content. Or you can go for the people that make you feel comfortable, people that you're like listening to because it sounds like friends. And they could be, as they say, they could be reading the phone book and you'd still listen because you like the sound of their voice. Or,
and I think there's an element of truth to, they can relate to some stuff that they normally, they don't tell other people, so they can't relate. Their friends don't know that about them, but we may have some kind of a weirdness that we're willing to put out there and talk about, and they can relate to it. And, then it's like they don't have to tell anybody, but they can
plenty of weirdnesses.
They can sit there and listen to it and say, I was told by somebody this past week that I was the most interesting person they'd ever talked with. We've had coffee a few times, and we used to work together years ago, but we just kind of reconnected after a decade. And, at work, you don't let on a lot of stuff because you're working, and you know what I mean. You're just kind of putting on your uniform and going to work and living by the rules of the workplace. So you don't let on about a lot of stuff, but then you get fired and you go like, well, why did I pay much attention so much? I should have just been myself. So I always wanted to do that. And then I was in my last job that I retired from after I got fired 12 years ago. I went and I got a better job. I like it when that happens. So I got a better job, and then I got on the NPR board and stuff, and I was just myself. I learned a lesson.
Yeah, you retired high profile.
And you know what? It was because I was myself. And most of the people that I work with now, most of them couldn't understand what the hell I was about and what I was doing. But what I was doing was being myself, and I think that was a part of the attraction to people who were going to give us thousands and thousands of dollars, was because I would hang out at functions and know what they drank and get them their drink and do stuff and not talk about the money, not talk at all about the money. And I would ask them more about themselves than tell them about me, and they would ask about me. But I think they liked, I call it slumming, because I certainly wasn't on their level. I was making six figures, but I wasn't making seven figures. But, I thought it was cool hanging out with them because I learned a lot about how they were really, I learned a lot about business and relations and stuff and how to do that. But, and I took a lot from that, but I also, got to know a lot of people, and you know what? They're no different than us. They may be really, really rich and live in this gigantic house and have all these amenities and very cool stuff going on. I loved hanging around that because I've always aspired to that, but never gotten there. But at the end of the day, we'd just sit in their yard in a couple of lawn chairs and have a beer. And that's what they were comfortable. And so that was fun. I really enjoyed doing that about fundraising. But anyway, I think in the long and short of it is that a lot of people can relate to a lot of different things about people. And once they get to know them. So, and I think that's why I got so easily into the upper echelon of the philanthropic community, because I was kind of myself.
And none of the money stuck to your fingers.
Well, yeah. And I think they appreciated that.
Or did it?
Yeah, because obviously
I was waiting
not.
for that. No.
Well, obviously not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting in the attic of this house doing this podcast thing. But I'd have a cool studio. And I will eventually. I'll put stuff up, but I'm busy doing other stuff in the house.
I've got no money, but I've got a cool studio.
Yeah.
Well, this may not be your idea of a cool studio. I don't know.
It is a cool studio, and mine will look like that. I get my stuff up.
Okay.
But but the whole 9 yards of it is just being genuine and authentic, and people can relate to it if you're not afraid.
So that may make us a popular podcast.
Yeah, I think it is. People can relate to it because both of us, in our own way, have been very successful. And we got to a point in life where we were comfortable with ourselves after living so long
time
trying to get there. And, I can recite so many 12-step things. And, I lived my life in Al-Anon and adult children of alcoholics and therapy of one kind or another.
Yes, and I lived my life in alcoholism of one and drug abuse of one kind or another.
So I was learning to cope with you and our parents.
Yeah.
The after effects of our parents is what's taken me into, and I would say that I'm 69 years old now. I was 60 when I finally I had the epiphany when I was about 60 that said, and I think it was when I got fired from my last job. So it was, I was 58, 59. And facing the prospect of going out and getting another job that late in my career, and everybody says, "Oh God, just late in your career, how are you gonna do this?" And I'm sitting here with a family going, "I'm screwed, and I'm never gonna get a job." But then, I thought, "What the hell?" So I just decided. I had this epiphany: just be yourself. And you know what? The first job. So I say I was fired, but it was really an interesting thing because I knew it was coming. You can tell, right? When a boss is setting you up for failure, you can kind of tell.
Okay.
Well, you spontaneously got yourself fired, but
I've been fired from. I'm trying to remember how many jobs I've been fired from. One, two right off the bat, but probably three.
Wow.
And a few others laid off or quit. Yeah,
no, it's only twice I can say, and once because the company was, tired of me being around because they were trying. I got paid too much, and they were wanting to sell the company, so they had to.
But you were going on the more positive side of the story, which is.
So my thing was this: this last one was really cool because I knew it was going to happen. So I spent a couple of weeks getting everything in my office cleaned up, and I was. Number 2 at this radio station. So I had a lot of stuff going on. I ran
multiple meanings for the words number 2.
Yeah, I know. Well,
maybe all apply.
Yeah. So anyway, I got everything together and I put everything I knew about running, everything there was to do, everything I did, all of my records, everything on CD-ROM. And then I government wiped my computer in my office. So there'd be nothing on it. So they couldn't go into it, see anything.
The bad guy.
Well, because there was proprietary stuff in there. That was my stuff. So, but I put down, they didn't own my stuff the way I did stuff. So anyway, I put everything down on the CD-ROM and I got it all done. And then my boss at the time had scheduled, an appointment with me at an odd time. And his secretary told me about it. He didn't. And so there's a lot I could say about this guy. But anyway.
Now, so we don't want to say anything that is going to get us sued because we don't have enough money for lawsuits.
I knew it was coming. I'll just say the truth. I knew it was coming. And I knew it was going to happen, and I knew how it worked. And working at a state university with the amount of time I'd been there, 15 years, you get a year's notice. You get what's called a T contract, a terminal contract, and you have 1 year to...
what kind of a socialist commie organization was this?
I know, right? So you've got a year to rectify the situation and put yourself back in the good graces. And if you get a good review, then you can still be employed there. But I was like, why would I want to work for a guy that did that? Why would you want to do that? And so I went out and looked at what else was going on and available. And in the intervening time, I got another job. And so by the time this meeting came, I retired from the state university system. And I retired from University of Illinois. So I was able to go into his office and say, and he could say, well, you know, based on your last review and this and that, you know, yada, 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 I'm going to have to give you a T contract. And I said, well, you can't really do that because I don't work here anymore. And he was like, what? What do you mean?
You can't fire me. I quit.
I retired. I said, I just came from the state university retirement system and the HR at the university, and I retired this morning. So I don't work here anymore. As of 10 o'clock this morning, and it's 11, so I don't work here anymore. And then I walked out and I gave the CD-ROM to his secretary and said, this is everything I know and everything I do. And I left. And the HR person at the station comes around, well, what are we going to tell everybody? And I said, well, you know what? If you don't know about the gathering tonight, she goes, we got to have a going away. People will wonder. And I go, like, I don't really want a going away party from a place that just fired me. But if you haven't gotten an invitation to the Esquire Lounge tonight, then I guess maybe somehow, perhaps, you're not in my inner circle, and I don't care. So
you're
nice.
You're rough.
Nice gathering.
I didn't get an invitation to that.
You didn't work there.
It was thousands of miles away.
Yeah, and you didn't work there. So, but anyway, so we had a nice gathering and got to say goodbye to the people that, you know, we had a good relationship together and cared, you know, and stuff like that. I could have gone and been really bitter and said, you know, you guys can all suck off because where were you when I was the unanimous choice of the search committee for a promotion, and the boss at the time, was the only one who vetoed it. I was the unanimous choice of the search committee. Because, you know, and people think, you know, you hear stuff, you know, stuff gets out. Nothing's a secret. I'd given him a bad review to a secret meeting of a committee at the college. Probably about a month before, all of a sudden, I got this really bad job review. Whatever. Politics. That's another thing we can talk about, politics.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be getting into that. We've been gassing here for almost 90 minutes.
Really?
How long should a podcast be?
20 minutes.
How long is a piece of string?
A podcast should be about the length of time it takes somebody to drive to work.
Okay, so we're going to break this up into 17 shows.
And some of it can be longer if they're going to use it, like, you know, for driving cross country.
Well, you got
as long as you can
going to work and coming back.
Yeah.
And then you got the NPR driveway moment. Anybody sitting in the driveway listening to this here?
So here's the driveway moment, and we'll end on this. This is why you have to tune into the next one. Grandpa was a Nazi.
Is that a country song? One of our internets just screwed up. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Mine's still going.
Yeah. There was a little breakup, and then okay. So we need a website. I think we need a website. Do we need a website?
I don't know.
We need something to
distribute it.
We need something that's going to distribute the audio. We need a YouTube channel. Yeah. Which one of us is going to do all that work? Which one of us knows how?
You do. And I'm busy. I'm the executive director of the Illinois Public Broadcasting Council.
Okay. I produce a podcast for the York County Democratic Party.
That's right, you do. And that's a very good one, too.
And Ham Radio Now. So I'm doing 2 shows, and this will be a third.
It reminds me of Democracy Now!, your podcast on the Democratic Party. You should have Amy Goodman on.
We need celebrity guests, of which I'm going to rely on you because you know all the people at NPR.
Amy Goodman used to come on the air at our station and raise money, even though I never ran her show.
It's like, hey, would you come on a little podcast with 2 old guys who are just slumming because they used to be in broadcasting and now they're not, and so they still need to feed their egos, and nobody listens and nobody watches, but you're a famous celebrity and we sort of know you, and would you come on and talk to us and tell us stories?
Well,
that's your pitch, right?
That would be my pitch, but we could also go 1 degree back, and we could get people that are 1 degree from famous people, whereas I'm 2 from a lot. I'm two degrees from Kevin Bacon. So you're 3 degrees from Kevin Bacon. How about that? Forget 6 degrees. We're 2 and 3. I think that's worth listening to a podcast of ours.
Wasn't even feeling that. I didn't know.
You're 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon. I don't know Kevin Bacon. You're 3 because I'm 2. But you're.
But you know somebody who knows Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And by the way, who is Kevin Bacon?
You know Kevin Bacon is
an actor.
Yes.
Movie star.
And if you haven't watched his TikToks and things, he does some really cool ones with his wife. And so, but I know a guy that I had drinks with a guy who was his neighbor. So there you go. That's how I got to be. But you are 2 degrees from Telly Savalas.
Damn.
Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, Willie Nelson, and I could name more. Roy Clark.
Yeah, you sat in Willie Nelson's trailer.
In his bus.
Bus, smoking weed.
Yes, I did. I can say that.
Okay. So apparently I'm making the website.
Well, I'll help. You just have
I'm doing the production.
Well, you know how to do it.
And it's almost no work at all.
Yeah, except you've got 90, having been a news reporter, I'll tell you, when you do a 90-minute interview to go and pick the most essential 10 minutes out of it is about 5 or 6 days work.
Yeah, there'll be none of that here. There'll be no editing. You see this top to bottom.
So,
and at one point in the somewhat, perhaps not too distant future, it will be live.
That'd be cool. Then my wife will watch it downstairs. Our wives can watch it. And then we have 2.
I do the Ham Radio Now show live. The political
live
show, live to YouTube.
Live to live, and then tape.
Live to YouTube. It gets recorded, so and becomes a podcast, but no editing, just out it goes. Finishing off the moonshine. Is that pure Everclear there?
Yeah, pretty much.
You're holding it together really well.
I used to do shots of Everclear with sheriff's deputies on New Year's Eve in a garage.
Did you ever get drunk on the air?
Did I ever get drunk on the air? Did
you do the you bring in the state police guy?
No.
And you're
No, I never did that. So yes,
the bid though, right?
Yes, I do. The Johnny Fever, where the more he drinks, the better he gets.
Well, now I remember that show.
Yes, I was drunk on the air, and I have a tape of it. And it was a long time ago. And it was on
in future programs. We will play some of our air checks.
And it was a show called the Jay and Joe Show. Well, I can't play the air checks unless I have a cassette recorder or a reel-to-reel tape player, because all of my stuff's on cassette.
You never digitized it. I digitized mine while there was still the possibility of playing analog stuff.
I might have had some of it. I might have some somewhere that I don't know. It's on a hard drive somewhere.
I mean, I've just got 2. I've got the original radio station I was on, WDOR, the voice of Cherryland, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. Yes. And I've got one from KFWJ in Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Lake Havasu City. So
that's all I got.
The same people, the same family owns the WDOR still.
The Allen family.
Yeah, they still own it. The kid, who would have been the son, I guess.
Eddie Allen.
Yeah, Eddie Allen. He owns it still. They still have it. Still in the family.
Pretty sure he would not remember me at all. He'd remember the guy who brought me in, but not me.
I think the station might actually be stereo by now. But
the FM station was not stereo,
and they did go up. They did go up to 50,000 watts, so I guess they did.
Yeah, we were 3,000 watts. And the story I remember of that, we were mono, but we played a weather forecast out of a Green Bay station that we just picked off the air. And people's stereo lights, back when you had a stereo light on your FM receiver, would go on when we switched on that weather forecast. And we would get people saying, "I love your stereo weather."
Why isn't the rest of the station stereo?
We don't need to be.
Wow. Yeah, they still own that station. The Allen family still owns it. And it's still in that house. whatever that building was.
Yeah, it was a house. Well, I guess it was a
there.
house. Looked like a house.
It's still there. And if you listen to it, you would recognize that it's not much changed.
And that's the reason you got into radio.
Yeah. And I worked at a lot of stations like that.
Yeah, because I was a disc jockey at that station when I was 19 years old, and you came up and visited, and you were infatuated. I was
infatuated.
Had you thought about being in radio before that?
Not really. Okay, so there's two stories, and I'll tell them if we do a podcast talking about how we got into it.
Okay, so two things to stay tuned for. One, Grandpa was run over by a Nazi.
Yeah, he was. He ran around with Fritz.
How Jay and Gary got into radio.
So
no, we're not telling the story now. Those are teasers for upcoming.
No,
episodes.
those are teasers. Yeah. And there's the story that I use if I'm trying to be professional, and then there's the real story.
Of how you got into radio?
Of why I got into radio.
So my story is the professional part.
And I've got the professional.
Not the real story.
Yeah. So there's the
I haven't heard the real story.
Oh, the real story is an easy one.
No, later.
And let me tell you, both of them worked.
Okay.
And then if you want to get fancy with video, I just stumbled on some TV reporting that I did back in the day.
I've seen a gas station someplace.
The gas station and the poison ivy one.
I haven't seen that.
The poison ivy one's pretty funny.
We'll pull out some old
I'm
media.
standing in a field of poison ivy talking with a guy about how dangerous it is to touch poison ivy.
Okay.
And I'm like standing.
Do you know anybody who's good with graphics, or do you know anybody who's got one of those AI graphics generating things?
Oh, I'm sure I do, but I'd have to find them.
Because we'll need at least some rudimentary graphics. And if I'm going to do everything else, I'm going to put it on you to find some graphics.
Well, one of my ex-wives can do it.
Are you in a good stead with them?
No, I'm not supposed to talk to her. Her husband gets mad.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. We'll find another source.
Who does graphics that I know? Oh, I know some people who worked in the art department back in the day. So they did them.
I don't know. This would have to be somebody that
knows the electronics.
Would do favors for you willingly.
Oh, I'm sure they would. They like me.
Yeah. All they need is a screen grab. Okay, just give me right into the camera, whatever face you want to make.
Wait, am I looking in the camera now?
I don't know. Close enough. There's their raw material for graphics. Did you freeze?
Yeah.
Jay froze. Do you remember? I was visiting you. You were doing news at WCIL.
Oh yeah,
in Carbondale, Illinois.
Yep.
And I was sitting next to you, and they were about to do the newscast.
And we were in that tiny little news booth.
Yeah. Who was the disc jockey?
Dennis Lyle.
And so just before you were about to go on the air, I whispered to you, when he cues you, just start mouthing like you're talking, but don't say anything.
And I probably didn't I?
You did. And we got exactly the reaction that we expected. It was, he punched the button, did the news theme. And now Illinois broadcasters present Jay Pearce and the News.
Or whatever.
Or whatever. And he cues you. Probably doesn't even have to cue you. Everybody knows when you're supposed to start talking. This cue thing, that doesn't really happen. And you start going.
Yeah, probably.
And he is flying all over the control board trying to find the button that he did not push. And then you start talking.
Dennis Lyle was the All-American jock, and he is now the executive director of the commercial counterpart to the Illinois Public Broadcasting Council. He's the executive director of the Illinois Broadcasters Association. So we both, from that little time, ended up the head of the respective organizations in the state of Illinois. How about that?
Okay, so he'll be watching.
I could,
or listening.
One too.
Once he finds out. And
Anyway.
who else do you want to say hello to?
Well, my wife, Melissa.
Okay. Hi, Cindy. Cindy won't be watching this.
Hi, Cindy. I'll say hi to your wife.
And hi, Melissa.
And my daughter, Sarah, and my son, Dale, and my grandkids, Jay and Margot, and my other daughter, Annan. And
I guess this is the friends and family. Hello, Cheryl, our cousin.
And to Katie, my son's wife, and to my grandson's father, Cody, and to Corey, who is my other daughter's husband, and to my grandchild.
Why do you say that with clenched teeth?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to remember everything.
Okay.
And then, and not do the Jane gear. And then, because we're on the spot. Show business is hard. And, it's like Joe Biden can't remember everything. I can't remember everything, right?
I can't remember anything. Fortunately, I've now put it out there. I'm not going to be responsible for remembering anything.
And we have a grandchild to come. You have another great niece to come, but that's going to be a few months, and I'm not revealing the name. We don't want to reveal the name.
Do we have a gender reveal yet?
Yeah, I said niece.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm very pissed off.
I'm not really paying attention to him.
I'm really pissed off about how the Republicans in general are going on this Biden can't remember stuff.
Of course they are.
That's so lame. It's so freaking lame. Do they have nothing to run on? And don't get me started on solving the border crisis that they don't want to solve. Here's everything you asked for. Oh no, we don't want it now because our guys got to run on this chaos at the border to get elected.
Yeah, but if you watch Fox News, it's an entirely different story.
You know what? Fox News can suck it. It's a bunch of bullshit. And how many times do we have to prove that their hosts lie? Tucker Carlson, and
he got fired. He got fired for lying.
He got fired for libeling or slandering somebody. No, see, libel is on the air, slander is written. But telling untruths happens to be a big thing, but their followers don't care about that. They don't care about the truth. Or
you can't handle the truth.
Or our version of the truth. And we can talk about that. That's fine. That's just ridiculous. As a journalist for 50 years, I can't. They're not journalists. Can't. There's no journalism there. So,
okay.
Anyway, that's Rupert Murdoch controlling you to make a profit for himself.
In a future program, we will talk to you about Grandpa got run over by a Nazi.
Yes.
What was the other thing? Oh, Jay's real story about how he got into radio. We will find a theme song. We'll find some music.
We'll get a real title. We'll get the title and graphics.
Yeah. The title is The Jay and Gary Show.
Yeah. But we got to get it in graphics.
Yeah, unless you got a better idea.
No, I'll go with that. Okay. It's very simple and it's true and it's authentic.
Yep. And the corporate overlord is Pearce Brothers. The website you're going to look for is Pearce Brothers Podcasting.
Cool.
Pretty sure I can get that. I just realized I shouldn't have mentioned that because now someone's going to go get it. And then I realized we're not live. We're not live. So
yeah, really. So how are they going to hear it?
Yeah. And I just realized that I never started recording.
You didn't?
No. Cool.
And
that was a good rehearsal.
How many times have I done that? And there's, they're listening on my phone, so they know. I'm going to get stuff now showing up in my Facebook feed.
People are listening on your phone?
You'd be surprised how many times I say something like to my wife or something or a friend, and then all of a sudden
there's surreptitiously
related things are all over my Facebook page. And
it's the conspiracy theory listening on your phone thing.
Exactly.
I got it.
It's the deep state. How did Quicken Loans know that I was thinking about refinancing my house? Not now, but I mean when I did. So. And I got a much better interest rate. So now I'd laugh them off when they talk to me about, don't look at a HELOC or a HELOC or whatever they call them, a home equity line of credit. Don't look at that. Look at a cash out refinancing. And a cash out refinancing, yes, so I can go from a 3% interest rate to a 6.8. Yeah, that's a good move. Even I know better than that. So,
hey, I'm a former washed up TV and movie star. Now I'd like to tell you about reverse mortgages.
no, I'm not. Yeah, right. Jeez. Yeah, that's another. Nobody offers you stuff because they're just nice people.
And call me on the hurt line.
Yeah, whatever.
So Robert Vaughn, the man from U.N.C.L.E., ends up doing Hurtline commercials.
Yeah.
And Ilya Kuryakin, his wannabe second banana sidekick, gets a second career for 20 years on NCIS.
Yeah. And what's the other one? Who's the other? Well, Shatner's done a bunch of these commercials, these things. And then, there's the Medicare supplements, the Joe Namath Medicare plan. Yeah. And you know what? You can get rides. You can get free rides. And that's my joke. Can I get free rides? You can get free rides.
Free rides?
And whatever. My insurance is fine, by the way. I'm on Medicare and I have backup insurance and I don't need a Medicare supplement plan that, whatever.
You're not on Medicare Advantage, though.
No.
Okay, good. Because that sucks.
I have parts A and B.
Yep.
And then I have insurance.
You have a part, you have the supplement, you'd be what, part G for Gary? Do you remember which one you got?
Well,
Here's the tool Ben doing podcasting. We can talk about.
Are you going to die and leave me a lot of money sometime soon? Is that my part G supplement?
No, no. That's part G is probably the most common one to get.
No, I have private insurance it's insurance that I got because I worked for the state of Illinois for long enough that I get it for the rest of my life.
Probably
But I pay toward it. It's not cheap, but again, having a wife who's paraplegic, you have some medical bills.
Yeah.
And while she gets Medicare because of disability and the like,
you get it because you're old.
Think of how it would be for her to go in and get private insurance.
It's not going to happen.
No, so I keep my family policy because at the time that I got it, they couldn't refuse any of your family members based on any medical condition, which was another good deal.
Medical insurance, of which our father was a prime mover.
Oh God,
is a scam.
Single payer was his big thing. Single payer.
He thought it was a good idea. Or there was
he testified in Washington.
Oh, good for Dad.
Blue Cross was a not-for-profit when he worked for it.
Yeah, I guess he wanted single payer, but he wanted Blue Cross to run it.
Exactly.
Which probably would have been a good idea.
And that's why he was in Washington all the time, testifying for single payer. And he was on 60 Minutes, too.
And here it is. And that would have been in the 70s and 80s. And here it is 2024. And it's not even on the radar anymore.
No, he testified a lot. You can look it up. You can find his testimony.
You've been digging into the newspaper archive thing
and stuff. Yeah.
That's where you'll find Grandpa got run over by a Nazi.
You'll find out all kinds of things that ever told us by family members and documents removed from a house. There were documents removed. So
stay tuned.
Bring on the special counsel. Bring on the special counsel.
The problem is that we will get into doing our next episode next week. I don't know, whenever, and we won't remember that we're supposed to talk about any of this stuff. We'll be ranting and ruminating and chasing rabbits down other rabbit holes. Well, we'll see.
No, once we have a structure and we have an idea and we pick a topic, then we just go on it.
Sure. We'll try going with that. Not going to happen. All right.
This has been fun.
The appropriate length for a podcast is almost 2 hours. The best length for a podcast.
Is it really?
2 hours.
Is that what we've been doing?
Well,
nobody's going to listen to 2 hours.
My clock says we've been recording for 1 hour and 48 minutes.
Yeah, that's about right.
Can you believe that? No. Nobody has time to listen to that kind of stuff.
No,
I mean, that's why people will listen for the first 10 minutes. And
Yeah, and that's why you do the 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. It's drive time. That's why NPR segments are 8 minutes max, by the way.
Yeah. But
those time slots are 8 minutes, and they're generally broken into 2 4-minute stories, morning edition, all things considered. But 7.5 minutes is the max.
So here's what we'll do. Assuming this becomes episode 1, which I expect it will, since I'm doing all the work and I know how, this will be out there. If anybody gets to this point, then send Jay some form of electronic communication. I don't know how they're going to tell you this.
My email address is widely available.
Okay.
Google me. And I'm on Google.
Tell Jay you heard us mention this, and you will win a fantastic prize.
A little duck.
Okay. That could be the fantastic prize. I'm not going.
An NPR lapel pin.
I'd want that.
An NPR lapel. Well, you have to win the puzzler on.
You're holding it behind my shoulder.
You have to. Yeah. Oh, wait. I used to be a TV news person. I should know.
It says NPR on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I was. Yeah. I got an NPR mic flag around here somewhere. Maybe I should.
It should be on your mic. Wait a minute. I got a mic flag.
Oh wait. I got something really cool. This was my thing that sat in front of me on the at NPR board meetings. This was they let me keep my little table.
Oh, that's very nice of them. Well,
cool.
They call it a tent.
Yeah, tent. That's what it is.
Table tent. I got a mic flag for my ham radio show.
Do you?
I'm holding it up. You're not looking at the screen anymore.
Oh yeah. I got the NPR one in here, but if I lean this chair back too far, the legs will break. So a lot of stuff I have is really old. But yeah. So anyway,
you can't get too far off mic on me because I have a gate.
Oh yeah. Okay.
An audio gate to keep the noise down from the noisy room, and then you'll start going.
So here's another thing we could talk about. There's my Paul Harris pin. I'm a Paul Harris fellow, Rotary International.
Not Paul Harvey.
No, Paul Harris.
Can you do? Can you do impressions? Can you do voices? Really, Dad used to do dialects, but
he was also pretty racist.
Well, product of his era. Can you do voices?
Not really. I've never done.
Never tried? I've got 2 or 3 that I can do pretty well.
Well, we could try. I could try, but
yeah, because one of these shows, we'll introduce it, and I always have to do a catch line to get my voice into character. Let's see if you can tell who this is. Hello, Americans from across the fruited plain. It's Jay and Gary, the oldest podcasters known to man.
Sounds like Rush Limbaugh to me.
A little bit. I can work. I have to work my way into it just a little bit, and then I can get to a Rush Limbaugh. And now, fortunately, he's dead, and he can't sue me for it. And it's not just getting the voice and the timbre; it's also the timing and the emphasis. It all has to be done right.
With one hand behind your back. But, I used to work at the same radio station as him.
About KGMO.
Yeah, a couple of years after.
KGRDO.
He was Rusty
Limbaugh, yeah.
Yeah, his family was very prominent lawyers and stuff in Cape Girardeau.
And then I can do another voice. I have to work my way into it on America's favorite radio stations. And now it's America's favorite radio stations, a long-distance dedication coming to you from a young man who works in the radio business in Central Illinois, and he wants to hear his favorite song.
So you're 3 degrees from Casey Kasem, too.
Because you know somebody who knows somebody?
Yeah, I know somebody who used to be one of his producers. So.
Cool.
And we are both. This is an interesting one. But I don't know if you ever met him. Didn't you used to edit Phil Donahue's drop-ins?
I used to edit his show. Yeah, I met him. I used to edit his shows that appeared on the Today Show.
So I am 2 degrees from Phil Donahue. Well, actually, I'm 1 degree because I've met him now, too. But I was 2 degrees by virtue of you and my wife, who was on his show. So,
So how did you meet him?
Because my Melissa and I went to a conference one time, and he was one of the speakers. And so she went up to say hi to him, and he remembered her, and then I got to meet him. So,
how long ago was this?
I don't know. It was in Memphis. It was probably 15 years ago or more.
I'm trying to figure out the time, because if it was after 1980, it would have been after 1980.
It was probably 2005, something like that.
So you didn't say, and my brother used to edit your Today Show segments.
No.
You should have.
I should have.
Yeah. I mean, I worked with his producers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she introduced me one time.
So you're famous. How famous you are.
Well, we have touched fame.
Yeah.
I was in the same studio as Pavarotti.
Were you really?
Didn't talk to him, but it was a Donahue thing, and they interviewing him. And for some reason, I usually didn't do anything in the studio, but for some reason, I needed to be over in that studio.
Huh.
And another famous actor, actress, whatever. I was in the hallway when Bob Hope walked by.
Wow. Now that's cool.
That was at the NBC station in Chicago, where I was a video editor, and he was going to be on the Donahue show. And for some reason, they had to walk from the green room to the studio. And for some reason, everybody in that station had a reason to be going down that hallway or hanging out in it for that 10 minutes.
Hope was coming down. Yeah. And I met Tippi Hedren, and I made a really bad joke because she was there, and she's shorter than me. So I was like,
a lot of people are. You're over 6 feet.
Because I'm me, and sometimes I don't have a good governor or filter, you know. So I thought it would.
We're hoping that because that will be one of the hooks for doing this program.
Well, remind me to tell you my Tippi Hedren story. I won't tell it now. And then, so that was a pretty funny one. And I knew everybody in John Malkovich's family but him.
Actor.
I knew his sisters. I knew his brother, his parents. Never met him. So I know, isn't that weird?
And you had a Bill Murray connection,
We used to caddy together. Yeah, we caddied together at the country club that he and Brian based Caddyshack on.
Yeah, so he would remember who you are.
No.
I used to caddy with you. Yeah, sure you did. 1,000 people used to caddy with me.
Exactly. Well, maybe not.
One thing we have just discovered is we don't know how to end the show.
No. So, what time is it?
It is about 8 minutes until 1 o'clock your time, 2 o'clock my time. Here, I'll show you the clock.
I'm late. I'm almost late for my afternoon nap. Yeah. I got 7 minutes.
Okay.
Hard deadline. Then I have to put my feet up above my heart to drain my feet and my legs so I don't get neuropathy in my feet.
You're getting old.
15 minutes.
I don't have to do that stuff.
I did my yoga before we did this, so I have to do that. Well, I'm type 2 diabetic and I have hypertension.
Okay. Yeah. I have an elliptical trainer in the other room behind me, and it is not a clothes hanger. I use it every day for 45 minutes or so. If I don't go out and walk in the park or something like that.
Yeah, so I walk. I just got my Hokas, so I'm pretty excited. I all walked in them yesterday.
Hokas?
Hoka shoes.
Hokas.
Hoka. No, they're really like the best running shoes. Oh, they're awesome.
I got to ask Cindy if that's the name she's been telling me.
Never had a $180 pair of tennis shoes in my life, but now I do. And they're really good. They're really comfortable. My daughter turned me on to them. She's general manager of a coffee shop. And she got them on the recommendation of somebody. And because she's on her feet all day, running around, the coffee shop and stuff. And so she wore them. And after the first day, it was like this testament. She called me specifically to tell me that her feet didn't hurt for the first time in her life. And she's been a server in restaurants and hostess. I mean, she's been in the food industry for a long time.
Taken after her dad, who worked at McDonald's as a kid.
Yeah, I did. I started there for $1.65 an hour. So anyway, and before McDonald's had indoor seating or drive-up windows or anything like that. So
cool. So I end my shows, it doesn't matter what show I do, I end them all the same way. And I propose that we end this show that way when we figure out how to actually get an ending for this show. And it is radio procedure. It is bad Hollywood radio procedure.
What's that?
What do people say when they're on two-way radio and they have concluded their two-way radio contact?
Oh, over and out.
Yeah. Which is bad radio procedure because over means one thing and out means something else, and you can't be both over and out. Although
What?
Over means you go ahead and transmit. Out means I'm gone, I'm not going to be listening. So are you having like a thunderstorm? Because your picture's flashing on and off.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. It almost it didn't get bright, it got dark for a second. Like,
Let me do this again. No, it didn't.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Anyway,
Unless somebody drove by.
It's the internet.
Because there's a window right over there. So maybe
No,
somebody
it
drove
was a
by
bigger
and it
flash
reflected.
than bigger. It was a little drop out of picture. Over means okay. It's your turn to talk. Out means I'm leaving and I'm not going to listen. Over and out means okay. You can start talking, but I'm not listening.
10-4.
Good buddy.
Mercy sakes, looks like we got us a podcast. Okay, so anyway, in radio, the way I would always say it is when I end my shows, when I got them with Morning Edition, I don't think I said anything because people only listen
You weren't
to
there
radio.
at the end.
I was, and I had to do the 8:59 break. And then I just like gave the weather and a station ID because the notion
you were
that
the interstitial voice. You weren't doing a show.
well, right, but the notion that you do an intro and outro is that everybody's listening to the whole thing, and they hear you welcome them early and then say goodbye, see you tomorrow. When in reality, people only listen to about 10 minutes of Morning Edition.
Yeah,
maybe 15, maybe.
Yeah, that's why they measure ratings in quarter hours.
By quarter hours, yeah, because most people, and the whole philosophy of radio is you're trying to forward promote over the quarter hour break to get people to stay into the next quarter hour, so you get 2 quarter hours counted in your ratings. But because people never hear you say, you look at the thing. Okay, so I go on the air at 4:59 in the morning before Morning Edition starts at 5. There's like 500 listeners. And by the time you say goodbye at 8:59, there's about 5,000 listeners, but none of those 500 that were listening at 4:59 are listening at 8:59.
Right.
And it's people only listen.
Except for me. I listened. Steve Dahl did a 4-hour show and I listened to every second of it.
Yeah, you were the one. And
hey, Stever. Shout out to Stever. He's like your age, so.
Yeah, and his son, what did his son go to U of I? I can't remember. He had some connection. I think his son went to University of Illinois.
So did you ever do like a whole show of your own? You did shows.
I did shows.
Didn't do a lot, though. Wasn't you the big part of your career, right?
Well, it was the first 5, I don't know.
I don't mean music shows. I mean full boat talk shows.
Oh, I filled in. I never did my own. I filled in on the talk shows.
Okay, so so in terms of doing a podcast, I've got the experience here.
Oh yeah,
because I did 500 of them.
I did news magazines and stuff, but not half-hour news magazine. So I did one every day at
okay, well that counts. That's a talk show.
But yeah, because it was more like a news segments and stuff. So I was more like the host that tied the threads through. But I never, I filled in on the talk shows.
So this is why you want to do this, because this is your chance, finally, after all these years, this is your chance to shine.
No, I want to do this because you pestered the crap out of me to do it.
I made a suggestion like once every 3 months for 2 years.
Yeah, but then that becomes,
it's expectations.
We'll do this. Unlike the 3 times we tried to buy a radio station and failed. This will work.
Okay, that'll be the other thing we'll talk about.
And somebody want to win the duck, it does this.
Yeah.
So, like a Groucho Marx thing. Say the magic word. The duck squeaks.
You were holding the duck so you could see it, but your fingers were in front of it. There you go.
So we tried to buy radio stations 3 times, if you remember.
I remember one extended period. We looked at a couple of different stations.
3 different stations.
Yeah, but we didn't have any money, so.
No, but we knew a vice president of a bank, and we were going to get an SBA loan. We were pretty serious about it, and we actually made an offer on the 3rd one.
Vaguely remember. It's a good thing
the offer was accepted by the owner, but his lawyer said, no, you can get a lot more for it. And so he walked away from the deal, and I think it was within a year he went bankrupt with it.
Was that WJPF?
No. It was WKSI in El Dorado, Illinois, near Harrisburg, Illinois, and covered the Harrisburg market. And the guy who owned it was a state representative, and he admittedly didn't have time to run it and do stuff. And so it was in a trailer. It was in really bad shape, but we were going to buy it.
And that was going to support the careers of 3 adults.
Yeah. We weren't going to pay much for it. We weren't going to pay much for it at all. But he declined and ended up having to declare bankruptcy. So
should have taken the offer.
He should have taken the offer. His attorney, and I still remember him.
The new best length for a podcast is now up to 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Well, you're an editor.
Oh no, there'll be no editing. This is going on top to bottom, just as you saw it. It's going to take me another couple hours just to put together the infrastructure of hosting a podcast out there in the world. So that's all the work I'm going to put into it. So what is our ending? You determined. You've never ended a show. You don't know how.
No, I don't know how.
So, should we use mine?
Yes.
Or should we come up? Well, we'll use mine for this one, and then we will we'll keep workshopping the possibilities of doing something else, and we'll take input from the audience.
Or we could sing Happy Trails or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Just to be professional about it, and let's see, should I go first because I'm the older brother?
Sure.
I'm the older brother. I'm Gary Pearce.
And I'm Jay Pearce.
The younger brother.
The younger brother.
Over
and out.